Community Beacon, Fridays at 6:30 EST, with your hosts Michael Seville and Joel Simmons. A channel whose focus is liberty, a place where the lessons discussed and taught will create openings to a more open and freer mindset. A mindset where you may reach the height of your potential and excel. Here are your hosts, Mike and Joel.
What's going on? What's going on, brother? How are you doing?
I'm doing well, brother. How are you?
In your words, another day, another way, man.
That's it. We're back again, back in the place to be. Welcome everyone to Community Beacon. We had an excellent show last week. It was so good we almost didn't want to end it, and I guess in some parts we didn't, because we're going to continue today as we continue talking about the amalgamation of business and family. And intimately brought to you. We're saying business versus family, but we're putting it all together. How's your week been? Other than that, before we get into the show,
Busy week, brother. Busy work week. Ended up working a lot of days at the job. I did get some real good stuff done with the Tenacity Foundation, so I'm glad about that. Whole lot of perspectives, a lot of leads. I was speaking to Boys and Girls Club earlier today, and they're really leaning on me for a lot of things. So I'm glad about that. That's a good thing. That's a real good thing. And really putting in that work, not just being busy for busy's sake, but accomplishing things. So I'm glad about it. I was beat coming in here, brother. I was beat, man. I mean, I was beat. Let me tell you, man.
Yeah, talk to me.
I put 48 hours in at the job,
and
then came back home, and I got a project going on outside. So I put down some things, and I went out there and I started working that yard, man. I mean, we're putting edging in and laying the topsoil and throwing the sod down and everything, rock beds and all that type of stuff. So I did all that, then went out there, picked up the kids, came back. I got myself a 15-minute, power up nap and a shower, and I'm ready to go now.
Don't let anybody shame you or tell you anything about those 15 to 20-minute power naps. I took 2 of them today. So God, and it was right on time. And I'm telling you, I came back from the last one with a whole different perspective on life. I felt good. I was tired. I'm with you as well.
Yeah.
We get towards the end of the week. Of course, you're putting that in that time at that job. I think one of the things that for you as well, especially being in the fire department, is not necessarily always being busy, but it's like the anticipation of what could happen, because you have to be you're on high alert, right? Because it's fire department /
paramedicine.
Yeah, paramedics, EMT. So people think, oh well, they're just that. A person could say, well, they're just there, and how many times are they being called out? And it's very similar to cold calling, because cold calling, we're not on the phone the entire time, but it's always the anticipation of something about to happen, and the anticipation and the anxiety of something about to happen, what it does to you, mentally
and physiologically.
Physiologically as well. It's fatiguing, and mental fatigue and emotional fatigue, things that you can't necessarily quite put a finger on, is kind of more taxing than that actual physical. It's a little bit more taxing, or at least as much as being physically taxed, because it's just that anticipation. So I could imagine you putting being there for 48 hours and not always being in action. You know what I mean? So yeah, I could imagine you needing that 20-minute nap. Needing that 20-minute nap, but you putting in the time, and I'm proud of you. You know what I
Man, I
mean?
appreciate it. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
you
Likewise,
know,
the love goes on both ways for sure. I
yeah.
mean, it's interesting the way you put that out there. It's in physics, it's potential versus kinetic energy.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
And
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, really, I think that in my profession, it's definitely there. And some people deal with it differently. In this instance, they had us traveling all over the place, brother. I mean, I went from from Hollywood to Broward to out there to the Everglades, and then circled back, and then ran calls through the night, and then got back up and did the repeat cycle since I was working the 48. We did some training along the way, but anyway, you're absolutely right. But just for all the viewers out there, there's potential energy that is being used amongst us all, and we have to, just getting back to that topic about value. It's interesting, when you start to put that into your regimen, you start to understand what that potential energy is actually doing to you, and how that creates a framework for what you are able to do in that day. Because when the kinetic energy kicks in, it's go time.
It's
Sometimes
go
we
time.
don't
Yep.
really think about it. you know.
Right.
But before we get any deeper into it, God bless, and what's going on with you on your side of the block?
I'm being productive and forward thinking, and I'm hoping everyone at this point in time have where you're already deep into your business, your business plans for next year. Now, business and personal plans. Don't wait until January 1st to get that momentum going. Start getting that momentum going now. And start moving forward into the new year. You want to hit January 1st rolling. So me and people that are a part of my mastermind, that are part of some of my accountability partners, we actually started back in late October. We had I think, I don't know if we mentioned it here, but we definitely had like an all-day business planning session that lasted about 4 to 5 hours. That was a first for me, to actually have a 4 to 5 hour business planning session with some people, with a couple of my coaches, and they got really in depth into the business. And then going on further into now getting into December, like I'm already there. I'm already there next year. You know what I mean? A lot of people are in the holidays, which is interesting, and I love watching it. Remember, the holidays are maybe 3-4 days at the most. I get it. You know what I mean? Because it's a consciousness, and then we should be in the holiday season, and which we are. I got a chance to see some of the things that Anna created. Shouts out to Anna in regards to our holidays programming that we'll be having coming up next week. We're putting out a couple of things in regards to getting a shout out. So listen, people, comment. We're going to be putting this up all week. You have businesses, you have thoughts, you just want to shout us out for giving you some of this great information that we're partaking in with you on this show. Just let us know, and we'll definitely give you a shout out on our next week's show. Next week, Friday is my birthday, guys. So I'm also accepting gifts.
Yeah. Hey, Anna, we got to get the Rocky music. We got to get the Rocky music and play the Rocky music next time Mike shows up. Soon as he starts talking, dun, 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 I mean, we're going to hit it.
Hey, appreciate it. So almost there, almost 22. So I'm excited about that. And
almost 22.
Almost 22. So we're getting into it next week.
The year 22. 2022?
You weren't supposed to, yeah, the year 2022.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So we're getting into that. So listen. First off, we appreciate you guys for tuning in when you do tune in, and for actually reaching out. A lot of you guys are reaching out to me. I'm getting a lot of phone calls in regards to the show. Thank you, because that also allows us to know that we're heading in the right direction, which we're going to be going in this direction anyways, right? Because we spoke about it last week. We're in search of the truth. You know what I mean? So we're going to continue moving in that direction. We're going to continue being in search of the truth. We appreciate each and every one of you that tune in, whether it's now or on a later show. that engage in the conversations, etc. Because we're here because of you guys. But other than that, brother, anything else before we get smack dab into
Just get smack
business?
dab into it, man. Let's
right.
go.
All right, perfect. So let's start off with the question that we kind of left off on last week, which is essentially this is very important. This is very important. And you see it there, read it down there. Is it important to make ground rules for the time you will spend with your family? And this is in regards to getting focused on your vision and getting, but more for the sake of this conversation, getting focused on your business goals. Right. And this is for, you don't necessarily have to be an entrepreneur. You can be an entrepreneur. You can actually be working within a company and have the same thought process, because no matter what you're doing, you should be doing it at your highest level. So whether you're doing it as a whole for your business, your own personal business, or you're doing it within the company or within the confines of wherever you're working at, let's talk about the importance of making ground rules. And brother, you kind of spoke on some things last week in regarding to some rules that you have in place for you and your family. So let's get into it, brother. We definitely want to hear about that.
Yeah, man. Last week was a long time ago. Well,
let me tell you something that I took from it, just to jog your memory from way back there last week.
There's a lot of stuff that's happened in a week.
One of the things that I took from last week that I love, that I really love, was the word that you came up with for you and your son Jonah. You know what I mean? Like you said that you and Jonah have a word that you all use when it's to kind of to differentiate between playtime and it's time to get back to business time or something like that. You know what I mean? So if you want to expound on that a little bit for our audience, I think that, because that was very resounding to me. You know what I mean? Something that I'm going to take and use within my own family. So talk about, I like to hear more about that.
Okay. So I know exactly where you're at right now and what you're referring to. So like just dealing with those ground rules, but let's get back to that. So my little boy and I, Jonah, we get down with it. We have some fun. We make sure we have fun. And, every once in a while that fun goes an extra distance. And honestly, it could be on him or on me, because I will take it just that I'll go that extra mile. I will. It ain't all on him, y'all. So
yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out.
Don't start faulting the little boy because he's younger. Because sometimes I just get him by his head or something like that, and then that's it. It's all over with, and I'm gonna hold him right there for a little bit of time. My wife would look at me and say, "Leave him alone." I say, no.
Got him.
Yeah, I got him. But we just created, a rule. When he's had enough, which it doesn't happen too often, but when he's had enough, he just shout out that word. And when I've had enough, which mine comes probably more frequently than his, I'll shout it out. And it's like, hey, that's it. Hands off. Leave me alone. And the funny thing about this, Mike, is that him and I use that, but this is like it's a great thing for families to use, for husband and wife to use. You get home and you ain't feeling it. Not right now, and, husband or wife, in my case, wife or, your spouse get at you and start digging into something. And you just like, I ain't feeling it right now. Not right now. And too much stuff is occupying my headspace, and I just can't deal with any of that. Having a word like that, it helps. And then how does that interlace with value? So, Mike, I wouldn't say that it's really about the value of understanding the value of time, which I think we were leading down. We were headed down that pathway a lot on last week, but it's more about, valuing the individual and the individualities of the people that are inside of your family. And so, yeah, this is a deep dive, but it's in a different direction, right? Because we've got to understand that, the people that are there with us, they are also there for us. And sometimes, as we're going back and forth between business and home life, there are certain things that we can overlook. For those of us who have beds, I mean, in America, especially, Americans tend to forget how blessed they are, to have a bed or a roof over their head. I mean, so that's why I say it that way. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
We tend to forget that that's not normal everywhere in this world, and especially not to have separate rooms for everybody isn't normal. But nonetheless, sometimes we tend to oversight that we just have a bed and we just come and flop in that bed just like it's anything. Like, who cares? It's going to keep us up. And then one day we flop in that bed and the bed doesn't support us like it used to, and we get upset. We've done nothing at all to we never turned the bed, flipped the bed, we never did anything to make sure there's no lumps in it. And what I'm getting at is that, you got to check with your family, make sure there's no lumps in the family, make sure that you got to do this. If you value something, you got to take care of it. A scripture says a little leaven leaveneth the lump, leaveneth the whole, so you put a little bit of leaven inside of, and that scripture is talking about, bread. You put a little bit of leaven in it and a flat bread will grow and become a loaf. Right. And it just takes a little bit. So if you value your family, but you allow for something to slip by, something to get by, then a little bit of that devaluation or a little bit of allowing for something to fester and to grow can grow into a monster. And once you hit that monster, you got to deal with it, man. There's just nothing else to do with it. And so I hope you all can get that correlation between the bed. You don't check your bed, you get lumps in your bed, you're going to need a bed, period.
You don't flip your bed, you don't turn your bed. Things happen. And you know what? I think, just going back to the word, I think the word, and you kind of started alluding towards it, especially when you started talking about a word for, because we start off having it's a word between you and your son. But then you can also kind of also use it in regards to other family members or just your family in general. So now when I see something in regards to the ground, like that's just a ground rule, that's a part of the ground rule. So now when we're talking about time, especially now that we're working, since COVID, a lot of us, there are people who are working from home. So what happened was, and here's my word again, the amalgamation between work life and home life. You kind of, because some of us ended up making a space for our work within our homes. Right now, this is technically business. It's fun. So it doesn't feel like business what we're doing now in regards to Community Beacon, but it is business. So even so, prior to me getting on this call, I have a conversation with Elijah and Chalky too. Like, listen, I'm going into this office. I'm going to be talking with Uncle Joe. I'm going to need you all to kind of, this is that time that you all going to, for the most part, try to figure it out. And if you can't figure it out, then you need to wait in regards to whatever it is that needs to take place. So that for me is like a ground rule, but of course the word ended up being longer, but now they know, I actually just need to put something on the front of the office door that says like in session, because it's coming together now. As it goes in regards to becoming an entrepreneur, especially at the beginning, like most of us, and probably, I'm not going to throw a number out, but it's probably a high percentage of people don't have an office to go to. Right. Most businesses are going to be home-based businesses for probably the majority of people, because why take on a lot of that overhead if you don't necessarily need to? Right. So we have so a lot of this, so for most entrepreneurs, it's going to be that home-based life, which makes these ground rules even more important. So then when you started speaking on that, I'm starting to think about, it's not, we say ground rules, but we can break it down into just a communication process that you're going to have with your family in regards to what's going on and how much time you spend. Because take a workaholic like myself. I can be oh, yourself. Yeah. I don't want to
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, man.
Right. So take like ourselves, as much as we work, it can easily get out of hand. And when I say get out of hand, meaning that it can easily take away from this family. And going back to the bed analogy, now you got a huge lump, so to speak, because you're not flipping, you're not turning, you're not moving that bed. You're just laying down in the bed. You know what I mean? You're just thinking that it's supposed to be there. So when you have that family, and this is what I'm learning from you. So I did, and this is why I appreciate having these conversations with you, because I get a chance to see what you have going on, because you're a testimony, and then I get to reflect that and say, okay, I need to separate this thing. Like I said, in real estate, make your real estate in your life and put them together, amalgamate, and to a certain degree, yes. But then there's that part where you need to know the people in your household. You know, we talk about the different personalities, and we need to know that, okay, this person needs X amount of time. You know what I mean? This person or not needs it, and they should get it. Right? Because they should get it. They should. I think people should get whatever it is that, as much as they can, as much as we can provide, outside of making themselves, I can't make somebody happy. You make your own self happy, but I can also contribute. I can contribute to what it is that we have going on, because we can't negate that for the running of the business. Let me real quick, and I'll let you have it. When getting into real estate, right? You get into real estate, and then we know that, just some quick numbers, 5% of the agents do 90 to 95% of the business. Okay. So I noticed that. And so now you want to be around the 5% of the agents, because that's the model that you want to follow. We in Palm Beach County, we have over 20,000 real estate agents, and they're not all doing the business. I spoke to someone today. She said, "You're the second agent to call me." And we had a decent conversation. And I said, only number two, it was like 8:15. I said, I'm only number two. I said, man, we have 20,000 agents. It's good to know that I'm one of the two agents that's working today. That was the conversation I had with her. But when I looked at getting back to the 5%, a lot of them tend to be very miserable, multiple divorces, don't have a steady family life, etc. I mean, you're doing 90% of the business. That's a lot. Palm Beach County, we have thousands of transactions a month. So you got to understand, only 5% are doing the thousands of transactions a month. That could end up being a lot of work. But some of those agents don't have balance. So what I look at, I go further beyond than you just being successful within the business, right? And I left the broker because of this. I need to see that you're not only successful within your business life, I want to see you being successful in your family life, because I want to be able to share that this success is not just to be the best in this business. I want to master it, and I do want to be one of the best, but I also want to be known as a great family man as well. I want my kids, I want my children to look up at it and say he was a great father, because if they don't say it, then it really doesn't mean anything to me. A lot of things that I'm doing don't mean anything otherwise. And so we have to be cognizant. We have to be aware of when we're kind of getting out of alignment, and for what reason we're getting out of alignment. You know what I mean? And so there was a lot of gems dropped into that. So I hope you caught a lot of that. If you really want to make it really very simple, it's not about the money. Money is a tool, and it's a tool. You need to figure out what you're going to do with the money, because you're getting it as a tool. It's a trade. It's a currency. It's a legal tender. That's it. It's only worth what you place on it. But you should be using that to not only expand your life and not to be known as the number one agent within your county or city or whatever the case may be. You also want to be using it to further what you have going on with your family. And that takes, the over communication with your family. Like, listen, when I'm working, but let's come up with some rules. Let's come up with some rules that to make me know that, listen, there has to be this family time as well. Right. So, man, I said a lot. I hope you all, I
No,
hope
man,
you
that
all took
was
it
beautiful, beautiful. Man, listen, there was one thing that you said that really just hit me hard, and let's illuminate it. You said trade, the word trade, and I don't know if everybody understands that word trade and how it applies to family, because as you were discussing your point of view, and as you gave out some of those numbers and gave out the points of views of others, you started to come to a conclusion and you started to say, trade, and about the money and trade. Listen, that's what we do as people. Everything costs something. You trade something for something all day long, just like you were saying, when it's time to come inside the room and to do community beacon, you let your boys know, hey, listen, this is what we're doing. We are trading time. My little boy's actually in the room with me today. He's doing something on the other side. He's got a setup over there, and we're going to get him started on his YouTube thing. And my daughter's downstairs. She's got a meeting going on. She's doing a Zoom meeting for a display that she's got going on. We are trading the time that we could be spending with each other to spend with somebody else. That is, that's our finance.
Right.
Every single thing that we do costs something. I remember I used to live out in the acreage, and I would get home and I went out and bought me this big old John Deere lawnmower, riding lawnmower. I got an acre of land, and I need to cut it.
Yeah.
So I would get out there and I'm just driving around, cutting the grass and stuff like that. Lawnmower's all loud. I try to put some music in my ears, but the decibels are so loud I can barely even hear it. I'm probably destroying my eardrum, but whatever. I got this, Then on top of that, I'm a workaholic. So I'm working my job, I'm working my business, I'm doing extracurricular activities, and I'm busy and I'm working in the church. I'm doing all of these things, you know how I am, Mike. We full steam all the way. That's how we are. That's just who we are. And there's no off switch for us unless we make an off switch, right? But until we make one and recognize it, no off switch. Let's go. You'll find me drop dead before I stop working. Something like that. Anyway, I got to the point where I started to look back at my family. My little boy Jonah is like 2 years old. And I'm like, dog, and then my other kid, I got all these kids in the house and they ain't out there with me. I can bring them out there and try to get someone on a lawnmower with me, but I'm spending 3-4 hours cutting grass. Mm-hmm. I started to calculate how much money I could make in 3 or 4 hours. And then I started thinking about how many times a month I was spending those 3 to 4 hours. I would go out there one weekend, maybe 2 times a month. That's 8 hours. That's a full day's worth of labor. How much is that worth to me? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I called her. I found this lady. She had a business. She said, we'll cut your grass $60. For 2 cuts, it'll be $120 a month.
Oh, you can't beat
We're
that.
not only going to cut your grass, we're going to edge it. I hadn't done all this, Mike. All I'm doing is cutting the grass, man. We're going to edge it. We're going to take care of the bushes. We're going to do all this stuff. And I seen them get out of the truck like ants, just all over the place, doing all this work. They're done in an hour. Now, I didn't mind cutting the grass, but it did not make financial sense. It didn't make sense. It didn't make value to me anymore to trade out the value of being with my family and enjoying some time with them, teaching them how to do something, receiving something from them, or relaxing with them when I'm out there in the sun for 3 hours, 4 hours doing this work. And then I come back in there and I'm like, y'all give me another half hour to shower up and stuff like that. No, I'll pay for that. I'll pay for that right there. I'll pay for that. And I'm going to just go spend the time with my family. That's what I meant by that trade. Huge. Because we trade all the time, value for value. And
Right.
we don't recognize that we're trading value for value. You started talking about that money. Solomon said, money answereth all things. But if you're just in love with money, the love of money is considered to be the root of all evil. So it's not money is bad. It's when you love it so much that you devaluate your family. You devaluate your essence, your time, your spirit, your soul. You devaluate all of those things that make you who you are, just so that you could chase a possible dream and you end up being alone. I think we talked about that before too.
It's huge. It's huge. And I'm gonna tell you a pitch, because a lot of people, and this was interesting because I had a conversation with a brother of ours recently, and he was asking me questions in regards to business. And my first thought process was, I immediately go into the financial benefits, which you kind of brought up in regards to, it doesn't make sense. How much money can I make in those 8 hours that I'm going to do, that I'm cutting this lawn for the month? What else could I effectively do? And those lawn people, I don't know whether they knew it or not, they possibly did know it, but what they understood was those people aren't in the lawn cutting business. What they do is cut lawn. That's not the business they're in. Their business is that their lawn people are in the business of getting people's time, giving people their time back. They're in the business of giving people their time back, giving their people the convenience of being with their family and not necessarily having to do that, not having to work a 48-hour work week and then come and cut the lawn for 3 hours. You know what I mean? Because for the most part, it has nothing to do with. It makes money almost insignificant when you broke it down. That's what I hear when you say, yeah, we say it doesn't make a financial benefit, but it kind of had nothing to do with the financial benefit. The benefit of it was I get to spend more time with my family. And so when people are talking, and that's what, and you just kind of confirming the point that was made, is that people, like, the money is not it. And when you start to figure out, and this should be part of all of our business plans. This is a part of business planning. You need to figure out what exactly you are trading for, whatever it is. Because and then when you buy whatever you buy, these materialistic things that we buy because we love it, we need to understand that, oh yeah, it sounds like, oh yeah, I'm just giving $100 for this trinket, this doohickey, whatever it is. How many hours does it take you to make that $100? Let's say you make $25 an hour. It takes you 4 hours to make that $100 that you paid for that thing. Now, and so instead of saying that this thing cost me $100, this thing actually costs you 4 hours of your time.
Okay.
That when you make that distinction, you may not want whatever it was that cost you $100. When you understand that 100, whatever you're buying is costing you 4 hours of your time. Now, when I'm gonna tell you let's talk about these recurring costs, because I'm gonna tell you what the big thing now are these subscriptions. Like you got a bunch of us got subscriptions that we don't even remember that we have. I got an app now called Truebill that tells me all these subscriptions.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna tell you,
Truebill, hit us up.
Yeah, listen, people, download. I don't know if you. I don't mind paying for Truebill. It cost me $60, so that's whatever my time is worth is worth it. But what happened is that it saved me money, because I started looking at these different subscriptions, and then I had to look at myself. Was like, well, do I even use these things? And so I'm paying for things that I'm not using. I'm not paying for it with money. I'm paying for it with time.
Yes,
because it takes that's what we need to think about. Anytime, and this is excellent, because I hopefully a lot of you all didn't go, and maybe some of you all didn't go shopping yet. Hopefully you're not like me waiting for the last minute, but you're catching this message, or maybe you might take some of these things back. Whatever you bought this Christmas, and some of us are going broke. I know people who are going to the cash advance places, like et cetera, really need to think about going into debt for what you're about to purchase for somebody during this holiday season. When I'm gonna tell you right now, I said it last week. How do children spell love? Time. Your children would rather you Spend time with them. That's what's going to be memorable. So if you can come up with something, it's better for you to create something like a tradition. That's what's gonna last over time. Because if I ask most of us, what did we get for our 13th, 14th, or 15th birthday? You're not gonna remember. Most of us. I think I probably remember 3 major gifts in my life. I remember when I got the pennies. My mother bought me the pennies, the shoe, Penny Hardaway's shoe. Like that was memorable. You know what I mean? Like that thing to me. But for the most part, it wasn't that. What was the most memorable thing was seeing my mother bake her cakes on Christmas Eve. Her being up and baking the cake. Her the breakfast that we had in the morning that she would cook in the morning for Christmas. The seeing my brother's face. You know what I mean? When he saw the tree or something. It's not that gift. It's about that time and that tradition that's created. So, maybe we should have brought this show out maybe 2-3 weeks ago, but it's better late than never, so you all need to think about it. Do not put yourself into debt, especially during this Christmas time, to buy these things, because it's not the material things. It's actually the time spent that's going to be the most important thing going. So I hope you all caught that. What do you say, brother?
Amen. 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 Listen, that's huge. Okay, so let me tell you a story of a guy that I know of. I won't give his name. So my wife and I used to work with this guy. We were in the copy services and everything, and he absolutely knew that this is what he was doing. Knew it every time. What he would do is he would buy his kids everything. Whatever they asked for. They give them a list. I don't care if it was $2,000 per child. Whatever it was, he felt the need because he loved his children. And this is how he felt like he should repay them. He would spend 10 grand easy on Christmas.
Yeah.
And what he would do, he told this to me one day. We're sitting there in office services, and we're copying stuff, and everything. And he was like, "Yeah, man, I just paid off the credit card. This for last year. It's like November. This for last year." He said, "Now I'm ready to go and buy the kids everything they want this year." Like,
Lord have mercy.
We call my name. Hey, man, how much you say? Oh, 10 grand is what he said.
Yeah.
His credit card goes up to 10 grand. So he spends $10,000 in between November and December, packs the house with everything. And then after that, he works his bones dry all year long, attempting to pay that off and whatever else he does. Because if he's doing it for Christmas, he's probably doing it for all their birthdays too. That just makes sense. But, whatever. But he's doing it all year long. So what he has exchanged, what the exchange rate is his day-to-day time, weekly, over the months, over the year, for 1, 2, maybe 3 different occasions where he is able to enjoy his children, his families, in the receiving of whatever he's given. But he put himself into a corner where he's now working 80, 100 hours a week. And what he makes, he can't even use it to take a break or to take a vacation or to decompress, because he is always in this cycle of paying everything off only to put himself back into debt. That is what he bought.
Right. you bought that. And listen, I'm not, and we're not, once again, people, we're not here to tell you not to buy your kids stuff for Christmas. Not here to tell you not to enjoy, whatever what it is that you're making. What we're attempting to explain to is just a simple, like, this is the matter of fact of what it is. You know what I mean? Like this is exactly what's going on with it. I definitely, I don't want you all to go into debt over it. One of the well, I'm saying we're gonna go on to the next one. But one of the things about it is that don't go into debt. Don't go into debt over it. One of the biggest stressors in life is financial stress. That's probably the second or third reason of divorce. What's the number one reason for divorce? Filing for divorce.
Oh man, come
That's
on,
the
brother.
number
Come
one
on.
reason for divorce is filing for divorce. That's my joke. That's my joke for the day.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
He
but, but,
still made me
but
laugh though. But that was 100% a dad joke right there. I'm gonna tell you something.
But number two and number three, I saw the number two and number three is financial pressure. One of the leading 90% of the cause of of sickness is stress, and the majority of that for most people is coming from financially being under pressure. You know, not being able to afford living check to check, month to month. We're not supposed to, this is the same thing we spoke about at the beginning of the show. You don't want to be living in that anxiety. A lot of things happen when you're in that mode. First off, you're in survival mode. Secondly, the anticipation and the anxiety doesn't allow you to think for the future, right? You're not thinking for the future. So you don't want to just be living to pay off debt. All right. Enough of my sermon on the mound. Let's get into the second topic, which is
Well, I mean, before we go to the second topic, I think that it is important to set the ground rules. That's it. That's the gist of it is set your ground rules. Figure out what is important to you and sit down and have a conversation. Because I don't know what that second thing was, but communication is it's a divider. If you don't communicate, you can be divided. If you communicate, you can be amalgamated.
Love it, guys. Set your ground rules, man. What are we getting into next? Is it important to set rules for your business passion, especially when that passion changes the dynamics of your family relationships? I'd be a dummy if I said no.
Yeah. No, you gotta listen. The rule, you gotta set rules everywhere. I mean, you have to. I know people don't want to. And you all know me who've listened to these different live streams, and those of y'all who are in my circles. I'm 100% believer in the liberty of every individual, but there still has to be some kind of ground rules so that we can all learn to respect one another. It has to be. You need that in business. You need that in your family. You don't set those ground rules inside of your business. Your passion may overtake you. You can find yourself following behind a passion and you have no sustenance in it. And next thing you know, you have no business because you've expanded and you've spent everything you have behind a passion that you no longer have anything to spend anymore. And you never created a foundation. You never created a foundation. And without the foundation, you have no supports, no structure, nothing to stand on. It's nothing but an idea. So be very cautious with just running after passions. You got to create your passion purpose plan. Because once you do that, then you'll have purpose to run behind, and with a purpose, you can start to create. Your foundation. Purpose helps to drive a foundation. Passion doesn't do that. Passion gets you up and makes you want to keep driving. It's like a race car. You love to feel. You get exhilarated getting behind the wheel. You're just driving around. You're feeling so good. You love that rush. You just got to get behind that wheel again. Okay, that's great. Okay, why? Why do you have to do it? Because it is. But tell me why. What is the reason? How do you keep on doing this? You got to start asking yourself those questions. How do I keep on doing this? Because I'm passionate about driving. But what benefit is it? Because if I drive it, I'm gonna drive the gas out of it, the fuel out of it. And now I can't drive it. So what good is it to me? Maybe I want to seek out a career in race car driving. Well, how does that benefit me? How does it benefit my family? I can't just love to just race because I'll spend all my money on it and then I can't race anymore. So I need to find a purpose. And with the purpose, I can start to plug in all the different ideas and a mission plan on how I can follow my passion to my ultimate vision, which is becoming a NASCAR race car driver. because then I'll always be able to drive fast, and I will be able to support myself, and I will be able to support and enjoy my family, because now I have constructed a model that is a system that I can follow so that I won't fall through my passion. Don't let your passion put holes in your life.
It will. I mean, what was the passion? Passion is that that emotion. You know what I mean?
Uncontrollable.
That barely controllable emotion. And whilst it's good, it's only good when it's even better when it's channeled.
Yes,
it's even better. It's even better when it's channeled, because and that's where these these rules come in, because the rules allow you to have to be able to channel that energy. And I like when what someone said. I'm not sure who said it, but they said discipline creates freedom. So if you want to allow your passion to help you get towards your purpose, you have to create boundaries. You have to create rules that you need to kind of to move in, right? You got to create rules that you need to move in, because that way you can channel this race car, to use that same example. You can if the you want to be able to channel it. You don't want to be going nowhere with it. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you're on a road to nowhere. So channel that passion, and it's out of control. You know what I mean? You don't want to be going 200 miles per hour out of control. you don't want to be able to do that. So listen, it's important to set rules. I think Nas said it best. One of his sayings was, or one of his lyrics said, "Besides my children, boundaries were my greatest creation." That's what he said. Rules were my greatest creation. It keeps me in bounds. It helps me to subdue my passions. It helps me to channel my passions. And that's what you want to do with it. You will get so far doing it, and you won't get burnt out. I got people all the time that are I know some brothers that are very, very passionate about what they do. But they can't do it for any extended period of time. There's no consistency in it. And the reason why there's no consistency in it is because they're so passionate about it that they're not sleeping. You know what I mean? Like, they don't sleep. They're just going. They're just going. And your body just can't handle that. So once you understand how to subdue those passions, once you understand how to channel it, I'm telling you, you go to the next level with it. You go to the next level with it. I love it, man. I love it. Man.
Good stuff. Discipline equals freedom.
Yeah.
It's the field manual. Jocko Willink.
Was Jocko who said it? Okay.
Yeah. Jocko Willink. He wrote a book about it.
I don't know who he got it from, but I love Jocko Willink anyways. If you all check him out, he's one of those guys. He was a Marine, I believe, or some type of black SEAL. Yeah. He was excellent book, excellent guy.
Yeah, so like you said, I don't know if he started that, but he made that book up, man. So beautiful stuff. I love it, man. Where are we at?
We went into this to the third and final question. It says, should you compartmentalize your business and family, or should they be amalgamated? I'm ending out the year with amalgamation. Listen.
Strongly too.
Yeah. We not that. I wish we get dollars for saying it. We should get $5 every time we say it.
You can give yourself $5.
Oh no, I'm told we got one more question, but let's get into this question. Should you compartmentalize your business, family, or should they be amalgamated? I'm gonna tell this. The last 2 years, because we're going about 2 years since we kind of got into this. Since the pandemic started, which people, let's face it, life as we knew it has changed so fast, so quickly. We went from everyone's getting up and going to work. Most of us are getting up and going out to work, to now people are they're protesting going to work. People want to work from home. People want to be, want to have a stronger family life. A lot of people, even in real estate, aren't moving. Like we went from having 50,000 homes on the MLS to last week, I think at one point in time, it was about 17, no, excuse me, it was about 19,000. So it was under 20,000 homes on the MLS in Palm Beach County / Broward versus 50,000 back in 2018, 19. 50,000 homes to 20,000, you know. So what that means is that like people are staying in place. And what did go up were like home renovations. People are making, you know, like I think if you want a pool installed, it's expensive. It's more expensive. Not only is it more expensive, but there's a wait list. My neighbor has been waiting for like a year. Did you? So you must have looked into it. My neighbor has been waiting a year and a half. He's had the permit for about a year and a half, but the contractors just can't get to him because there's so much people that are looking to get that stuff done.
People won't even call you back.
They
won't even call you back.
They won't call you. They're busy. They can't even handle it. So I said all that to say this is that a lot of people are spending more time at home. A lot of people are spending more time at home, and a lot of people are doing business from home. So it's almost a, you know, with this question, like we don't necessarily have a choice. So it's seeing as we don't necessarily have a choice, the more so the reason of to why you have to come up with these rules. So we say compartmentalizing. Sometimes these things bleed through. It's tough. You know, it's tough to kind of to compartmentalize it. Like we're not computers, right? We kind of take things with us, most of us, but we do need to have these rules in order to make it lessen the effect on either or. You know, having a, you know, and I don't even want to say it, but I'm going to having a, because it's happened. Matter of fact, it hit kind of close home to me in regards to the last two, having conversation with a couple of guys that I deal with in my accountability group, having a conversation with your significant other that's not, you know, where there's an argument, and then bringing it into the workday. So, you know, in the last week, I've heard guys who have lost 1, 2, 3 days of work. And what I say work is like prospecting, 3 hour, you know, getting on the phones, etc. They're not doing it because of situations that's going on within their personal life. And then it could be vice versa. You can have a bad week at the workplace, and then it can kind of bleed over into your personal life. So this is where these standards, this is where these ground rules are ever more important. This is where the communication is, even at this point in time, you should be over communicating. It's better to err on the side of over communicating than to not to be communicating, right? It's better to turn that bed over 2 times than not to turn it over at all, right? You know, so some of the things that I think that we can do in regards to this, because like I said, I feel like for most of us, we don't even have a choice, is to you need to kind of do a couple of things. One thing is that self-time. You need to have that self-time and do a self-awareness check, because you are responsible for you. You know, when you go off to the job, all you're responsible for when you do at the job is to do the activities. The results of the activities aren't on you. You know, it's almost like putting the seeds in the ground. Putting the seeds in the ground, you put the seeds in, you're just there to water it. That's the activity, right? You're not there to keep checking it. You're not there to force a result. You're there to water it, and then the results. If you continue doing the correct things over time, you'll normally see the correct results. You might not know when that's going to happen. So that goes back to, so you're responsible for doing your activities. So which means, so you need to be responsible for yourself. That's why that self-time is ever important. So if we are coming home and we are having these issues, you need to have that time in the morning. That's my self-time, and I need it. I need those 30 to 45 minutes so that I can get myself in check, because I'm responsible to how I respond to people, and I'm responsible for how people experience me. I've taken that on to myself. It's my responsibility. So have that self-time. Another thing that I do is meditation. Meditation doesn't have to be this long, drawn out thing. You don't have to sit for hours at a time. I'm gonna tell you, being mindful can be something, and now I believe our watches have it now. Do it. Being mindful could be 1 minute. 1 to 3 minutes of meditation, so that's being mindful, can change, especially when you're when you're going from business to work or vice versa, or excuse me, business to personal or vice versa. Take that time. And the next thing, and I'm gonna let the brother take it from here, is your spirituality, man. If we, the if you believe in a higher power, if you have the belief system of a higher power and understand that you are not in control, if you can let go, if you can let go of a lot of these different attachments, that changes your life. So those are some of the three things that I think that we can do as we go into this business versus family, and how we can actually amalgamate, put those two things together, but allow it to become fruitful.
That's beautiful, man. Well said. Well said. Well said. Well said. So just digging into that, just getting into that. Wow. Man, well said. When it comes down to that compartmentalizing versus amalgamating, I agree with you. I feel as if you need to do a little bit of both. And I felt a little bit of that coming out of your conversation. We have to draw the lines. There are times when we need to put something into a box, and we just need to hold it right there for the time being. Mm-hmm. You come home and your spouse is dealing with the issue with the children, and it's something that you need to do. It's an emergency. It's something that you have to deal with right now. It's no time to take the job and bring it to the house. You got to compartmentalize it right then and there. This happens to me at my job, at work. So it's a little bit easier for me to do this because I have to pick out the most urgent necessity at the moment and handle that. So I'm trained in compartmentalizing things. And then once I alleviate something, then I can open that door back up and I can start to make the adjustments for everything else to flow appropriately. I love the way that you were talking about sometimes things will bleed out, because that's where my mind went to, being a paramedic. I started to think about that. I'll give you a point of view from a paramedic. A vehicle or a structure falls onto a victim, lands on their legs. The blood flow, the fluid flow inside of those legs are not able to return. Your blood, you have arteries and veins, and arteries take blood from the heart to the rest of the body, and veins take, oxygenated blood from the heart to the rest of the body. And then veins bring deoxygenated blood back up to the heart to be recycled through the lungs, reoxygenated and sent out again. When something lands on a leg, an arm, whatever, a part of the body, and it stops that flow, it compartmentalizes it. So as a medic, I understand that depending on how long the individual has been underneath that pressure, that if I were to remove that object, the backup inside of that part of the body is polluted. So I need to address that situation, that compartmentalization. We have a drug that we'll use to help neutralize the pollutants inside the body the best we can, but that individual needs to get to the ER as fast as possible. So just like that in life, when you compartmentalize something, you have to understand, if you leave it compartmentalized too long, it will begin to build up.
This is big. Oh my God.
Maybe something inside your mind, maybe something we consider the heart to have thoughts as well, but something inside of your life begins to build up, not just you. We're talking about family values as well as business values. Your business can start tanking because you compartmentalize it too long. But then again, so can your family. Many people lose their spouses, lose their children stop trusting in them. So 3 things that I'd like to drop out there that you want to always have within inside of your family. And you want to make sure that you have these things inside of your business as well. But in your family, you want to make sure that there's trust, right? You want to make sure that there's trust. If you don't have trust in the family, it makes things difficult, because it's not so easy to unite a family that doesn't trust one another. And how do you gain trust? You lean on one another. Yeah. Mike will tell you, he said it many times, he doesn't offer out his trust to many people. And if he does offer it out, first thing he does is give them a task. Go do this. Prove to me that you're worthy of my trust, because he values his trust at a very high level. We all ought to value our trust, our integrity, honesty at a high level. When we do that, we will then respond that same way. We get what we give, y'all. He started talking about sowing. If you sow trust, you will start to reap the benefits of it as well. Whether you know when it's coming or not, it's coming. So that's number 1. You've got to build that into your foundation with your family. Trust, honesty, integrity. It's called truth. You've got to build that there. All right. Respect. I'm gonna tell you, and I don't want to sound sexist, but I believe that most men would prefer respect over love. Love is beauty. I love it. Because having that individual that just cares so much about you and that will do anything for you means a whole lot. It means a whole lot to me. My wife gave me the greatest example of love. It means a lot to me. But respect, oh my God, that goes a long way. When you develop respect inside of your family, it then makes it easier to trust each other. It also makes it easier to love one another, because you start to respect the differences. We're talking about value and how you build core values inside of a family. You can do this inside your business too, right?
Yep.
So you got truth, you got respect, all right? And then I drop all of the C's on you, but I'm just gonna give you one of them right now. Communication. If you're not communicating, you're not walking together. It's not happening. You're not together. If you're not communicating, you're not walking together. You're not working together. You're not doing anything together. Your family is separated, because communication is the key to keeping people amalgamated. It's the key. You got to do it. You have to do it. There's a scripture that says, how can 2 walk together except they agree? You don't got to agree on everything. You can agree to disagree and walk together. But you got to communicate in order to get there. You can't just disagree and then go your own ways like things are going to happen. For instance, you got a bill to be paid. You got a car bill to be paid. You got an electricity bill to be paid. Both of them cost the same amount. I don't care what it is. Let's just say they do. One person says, pay the electricity, because if we don't have electricity, the refrigerator will cut off and we won't have food. That's a good point. The other person says, pay the car, because if we don't pay the car, they're going to take the car and I won't be able to get to work. That's a good point. You got to figure this thing out. You just can't walk out the room and nobody pays nothing, because now you don't have a car and you don't have electricity.
Jesus.
Every decision is not necessarily the easiest one, but in developing a family, even with children, your child, they want to play their video game. You don't care for the video game, but it's hurting them mentally to not be able to de-stress. But we don't think about it that way as parents because we're like, you need to be doing something else. Who needs a video game? It's not, I mean, if it's by design, if I train my child to never even play video games, maybe he won't ever want to play them. But then he goes to school and somebody trains him that playing video games is fun. Whatever the case is, if I give him a little bit of time playing a video game, he can de-stress. But I need to make that agreement with them. So this is what we're going to do. You come home, you do your chores, you do your homework. If you can do those things, I will give you the half hour to play that video game. Go play it. But this is what you got to do for me. So that communication helps us to establish a relationship where we both can walk together. What does that create? When he does his part and I do my part, it creates a greater bond of trust. It allows for truth to roll out. What does that create? A greater bond of respect. What does that make? It makes the family work better. Now apply that to business and you got something you can work with. And when the business and the family are going like this, it's probably because one of those three things has not been worked on. There has been no communication. There hasn't been a development of trust. There hasn't been any respect one for the other, and they're pushing against each other because one of them is trying to take supremacy inside of your life. And when you need them to amalgamate, you haven't created an atmosphere for that to happen. You need to take that to the table and start talking about it.
Yep. And do it all with consistency. You can't do it one time and think it's just it's done. This is all what Joe said, because I'm in total alignment with each and every one of the things. All I wrote down was and do it with consistency. Because you don't just do it one time and it's done. This is over and over again having those conversations because you all want to continue to be in agreement. You have to do it all with consistency. Excellent. Oh man, that was awesome, brother. I love the breakdown. Last question. This is truly the last question, so we can finish this thing out. I was told we weren't going to be able to finish it out, but we're finishing it out.
Yeah, let's get it.
and we were verbose at the same time. Are you using this business as a financial vehicle towards your legacy? Towards your legacy. Which I thought was a poignant question to ask. At some point in time, we get lost. And then we kind of spoke about it at the beginning of the show. There comes times when we get lost, and it can be either way. Like we can get lost within this ideal of our legacy / vision, or we can get lost within this business aspect of it. Like, what is it for? And there's countless movies, countless shows, countless examples of people who have dived deep into their business to never come back out again. You know what I mean? In lieu of the season, the Christmas season, was it Scrooge? Yeah. I love it. That was a newer version with Bill Murray. I love that, but it was based on
the newer version, Bill Murray.
Yeah.
Yeah, brother, you just did it.
Yeah, I just
and somebody put the time on the screen. Throw a date up there too.
The newest version that I can recall, anyways, was the one I liked it though. That's why it's coming to mind was the Scrooge, but it was based on. Was it It's a Wonderful Life? Is that what it was based on? Or anyways, the book, the Bill Murray version was called Scrooged.
Yeah.
And so essentially, we're talking about a guy who worked his way up into his company. And to the point now that the holiday season meant nothing. He was firing people during the holiday season. There was, then he got, of course, he got visited by the ghost of Christmas past, the ghost of Christmas present, and then the ghost of the Christmas future. And so when you see that this is a person who got so lost within this financial vehicle, he forgot the point of life, or the reason why he was doing it. Not the point of life, the reason why he was doing it. And then he saw where he was going to end up, which essentially was going to be alone, with no one caring for him. That's what happened when, and I'm giving this some spoilers. Still go watch the movie. This was the spoiler of it is that you end up alone. So in lieu of the season, I brought up that example. And that's what happens with this thing, is to always check back. So the answer that I'm going to give you to this question is that, yes, use your business as a financial vehicle towards your legacy, whatever it is that you are attempting to leave behind, whether that's for your kids and your family, or whether that's for the community or in general, just for people in general, because some people just want to historically be known, leave that kind of legacy. Understand of the fact of that at the end of the day, that we're here to serve people, right? So your business should be serving people. Don't get so caught up in the money aspect of it, and don't just get caught up in that exact system. You know what I mean? Always check back. What am I doing this for? Is this going towards my purpose? Am I going so far left that I'm forgetting about these people? Don't end up, go look at your wife before it gets too late. I love the example the brother gave about turning the bed. You got to keep turning that bed, and you got to keep doing flipping that bed, and you got to keep doing it consistently, because you don't want to see yourself at the end. And like I said, this happens in real estate. People on their second, third wives, and I feel like by the time you get to your third wife, things kind of, the sanctity of marriage kind of don't mean nothing. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to speak for anybody, but there's something about it. So, by the time you get to, your first wife, or you continue going through divorce, your kids don't want to pay no attention to you. Your kids say that you weren't ever there. The brother spoke about, next thing you knew, his son was 2 years old. I don't want to look up and Elijah's graduating and I was just working. You know what I mean? And he can't remember the time that he spent with his family, that he spent with his father. You bought me. I heard T.I., another rapper. I'm giving it to you. T.I. said he was talking about his father. You bought me clothes, toys. He said, I understand at this point as a man. Essentially, this is what the rap said. I essentially felt like this time as a man, looking back on it, I know you did the best that you could. You were a man. You were in New York. I was in Georgia, and you sent me clothes and toys. He said, but it wasn't enough because you wasn't there. And so I grew up thinking that you didn't care. You understand what I mean? So once again, kids spell love Time. Pay attention to it. Keep checking back on it. Go ahead, brother.
I like it, man. I like it. So listen, y'all. I mean, this is get you a coach when it comes down to your business, and any decent coach will be able to help you to really work that time with your family as well. If you're going to be successful with your business, you have to put time into your business. You got to, especially if you want to go out and be an entrepreneur. You want to be an entrepreneur, that's a little bit differently. You still need to do some studies. You need to, you need to graduate at different levels.
You still need a coach.
You need to take time. Yeah, you still need a coach. You need to take time to move through those different levels. Hopefully, because and I'm gonna tell you one of the reasons why, especially an entrepreneur, is because the mentor systems are not like they were years ago. They're not like they were years ago. People are getting so wrapped up in with just making things happen that a lot of people are not being mentored into the next phase, into the next position. And with the change in the economy and the change in the status and, with the millennials and forward, just saying, hey, listen, I prefer to have my freedom, rather than be stuck in the 9 to 5 in the rat race. They are thinking a lot differently. And when they're not mentored and when they're not cared for, when employees aren't cared for, it makes it very difficult to move up that way. So having a coach can help you out with those types of things. And then when you're an entrepreneur, just like you were saying, Mike, you have to have excellent balance, so just like you can get wrapped up inside of your business, maybe the opposite. Maybe you get wrapped up inside your family. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to say that's a bad thing. Enjoy your family, because there's not much more that a man can do inside of his life, but, enjoy the things that he does. But if you want to have that type of legacy and leave something, leave that name, leave that shine for your children, something that they can always look up to. Because, I mean, let's be real. Every single child looks up to somebody as they're growing up. Why isn't it you, parents, mom, dad? Why not look up to you? Why do they have to find someone to look up to outside of the house? Why not be you? So you finding the value of both of these things and being able to bring them together to create this atmosphere where a child will look up to you, dad, look up to you, mom, because of what you're able to contribute and what you do. And then, no, it's not about that, the T.I. song when it's like, hey, listen, I just wanted to have you around. It's like I had them around. They taught me this. I learned that. And you have, like, there's people that give testimonies all day long about what their mother or their father said and how it shaped their entire reality. Mm-hmm. That's a legacy. You developed something. You built something. So when you are in that family, going back to that movie with the Scrooge, and you are creating this type of atmosphere with your children, and then you show them how working can benefit them, then you are also developing them in a certain way that just doesn't happen as frequently. Because just like people are not being mentored in their jobs, children are not being parented at homes.
We still love you guys. This is not an indictment, but this is definitely just a check. You know what I mean? And this is for everyone, just to check, because you should constantly be checking yourselves. You know what I mean? So that's how I take it anyways. We should constantly be checking ourselves. I love it, brother. I love it. This is just moving us forward. This is moving us forward. This is moving the community forward to be able to hear those words of wisdom, because it's important. It's important. Wow. We spent some time on this.
Yeah.
We spent some time on this. Yeah. And because it's huge. It's important. This is important.
And Mike, I mean, this is part of our legacy. This, and it doesn't matter, we love to have the viewers, the subscribers, the followers, and everything. But this is a part of our legacy right here. What we do inside of the community beacon, God bless us to have grands. Our grands will look back and like, oh, look at Uncle Mike. Look at great Uncle Mike. Look at great Uncle Joe. Say, man, they were getting it. But watch, we're gonna get it even better than them.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want the next generation to take it higher, and the next one higher and higher and higher.
Stand on your shoulders. That's the same thing I was telling someone the other day. I said, to be honest with you, because it's not about the money, right? Especially when it comes to doing this. It's a media. I'm glad that we have the platform. And then don't get me wrong, there eventually there might quite possibly be more money into it. I totally believe it. We're heading in the right direction. However, the initial part of it, because I can't be worried. Once again, I'm telling you people, I'm not worried about the result. I am more concerned with performing the activity. That's what I need to do. I'm more concerned with watering my seeds. Yes. I'm more concerned with planting. I put it in the dirt. I water it. I don't want to check on it. I know I could put some fertilizer on it. That might be ads. That might be this. That's the fertilizer. Okay, cool. When it's time. But I'm more so about doing I'm doing the activities. But then the actual result, because I always want something. I always want to see something tangible. Because it's really tough not being able to look at the seed. Right. I'm still human. So one of the things that I put on top of this, another goal or another purpose or reason, just like Joel said, is so that my children can look back and say, man, let's see what they were talking about. And then they can use it you know, and then Mike, and now we're talking about our grands. If the Lord blesses us to have grands, they can, or great grands, they can go back and say, okay, man, look what Uncle Joel and Grandpa Mike was doing. You know what I mean? No wonder they talk to us like this when they come see us. Or no one, you know what I mean? Like this is what they were on. So they kind of see the process and the direction. You know what I mean?
And Mike, it's not that you don't, we're not saying you don't want to check on the seed. We're saying that when you check on the seed, you cannot make it grow. That's what we're getting at.
Yeah,
because I mean, you want to go back there and look at your field, you know, because what if something else moved in, a weed moved in? You got to pull it out, you know, while you can, you know, before it gets too strong. That may be part of what you want to do. You might want to prune it while it's still underneath your power, you know, but you can't make it grow. We can't make our children grow. And as our children grow, as our legacy grows, as our business grows, we have to go back in there and prune it. You know, just like Mike was saying, consistency. Go back and check that bed. You know, flip it, roll it, whatever you got to do. But you got to go back and you got to at least look at these things, and you got to make the adjustments when the adjustments are necessary. Constant communication equals the ability for you to walk with anybody. Anybody. But you got to stay constant, you know, because things change. People's minds change. And you cannot tell me you can see somebody's mind change. You can see facial reactions, but they may just be agreeing with you.
We're about to cut it out because we got a couple minutes left.
All right.
I want to make sure they caught that.
Yeah.
I hope they caught that part, because that there is gold. Like, you can't see when people's minds change. You could have came into it. You could have came in it with an agreement, but things happen within our lives and the other people's lives who we're communicating with. The more so the reason that you got to continue checking on it. Keep checking on what you're planning, man. Listen, next week and the week after, like I said, the 24th and it'll be the 31st will be our those shows will be taped, right? So they will be taped. However, even within the taping of the show, as you'll see, we want you all to reach out to us. We're going to be putting out a lot of ads and we're going to be putting out a lot of promotional things on all of our social medias, etc., leading up to the 24th and the 25th. If you want a shout out, if you want us to give you a shout out, if you want us to read some comments that you have, I'll be reading some comments from from whoever sends stuff to me. Joel will obviously be reading some of the comments from people who reach out to him as well. You got businesses that you want to highlight, etc. Because we want to give back, and because we want to solidify you within our legacy. We want to show you guys that we also want to feed into what it is that you have going on. So shoot us some information in regards to your what it is that you have going on, some comments, some suggestions for the shows, and we'll definitely be putting it into our recorded broadcast on Friday, our holiday recorded broadcast on the Friday, next week, Friday, the 24th and the 31st. So I'm really, really excited about that. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Do not forget to share. A lot of these things, I mean, I sit back with the brother and I take in a lot of the stuff he says, because these are things that I'm going to apply to my life. So, you know who I am, Michael Seville. Same thing on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Follow me, DM me, talk to me. I'm here to support. I'm in the real estate field, guys. It's an excellent time to be on the market, man. So definitely, if you have any questions, any way that I can help support you, definitely reach out to me. Go ahead, brother. Love you.
Y'all remember, Community Beacon is always in search of truth. That's our purpose, is to bring that truth to the forefront so that more and more people are able to be liberated and free from whatever may be binding them or trapping them. This is our journey, in dealing with that. And this is our journey before you all, unfolding before you all. This is our open book platform. where we are exploring the liberties that we have inside of ourselves to be the greatest individual that we can be, and to share that journey with everybody else. We definitely love all that you all have shared with us up to this day. We love the subscriptions. We love the followers. We're very appreciative of the likes, so we're glad about that. If you have anything that's going to be going on over this holiday time, this Christmas holiday, or whatever the holiday is that you're sharing, go ahead, like Mike said, send it to us. You'll see it underneath. I think Anna put it down there in the description, the YouTubes and the different platforms that we're on. Other than that, we definitely enjoy you all. We got to get out of here. All right, Mike, love you, dude.
Love you too, man. Love you too. Peace, everybody. Peace.
All right, y'all.
Community Beacon, Fridays at 6:30 EST, with your hosts Michael Seville and Joel Simmons. A channel whose focus is liberty. A place where the lessons discussed and taught will create openings to a more open and freer mindset. A mindset where you may reach the height of your potential and excel.